But you think about this, which one of these is not like the other? Amazon. Why is Amazon in a list with Nike, Apple, Coke? Why is it in there with emotionally connected brands? Why did recently Forbes name it the #1 brand of intimacy of any brand for 2020? What is Amazon doing? Can we have an emotional connection to Amazon? Well, we looked at the chart and tried to figure out where the numbers were, because what were the numbers saying? Well, we checked nostalgia. Nope, not nostalgia, because with nostalgia, Disney wins that mark. Coca-Cola, by far, Ford destroys Amazon in the concept of trust through nostalgia. What about identity? Not really. We don't identify with Amazon like we do Nike or Ford or Apple, not nearly as much. Where could it be? Maybe it's the adorning symbols. Let's look at that. I looked all over the internet. I couldn't find one Amazon tattoo on one person, unfortunately, or a tutu for that matter. And so there's got to be something here, but what about this adorning symbol on your home screen of your mobile phone? Amazon makes the top 10 home screen apps. It is most likely to be on your phone, on your home screen, and most likely to be used often. What about membership contribution? What are we doing to give back? I couldn't find anybody who painted their face in Amazon colors, or the smiley face either. I couldn't find anything like that. However, I did find 112 members, 112 million members, 4 million sellers, 506 million referrals from 1 million associates who own the brand and say, this is my space, and I tell people about it. Consumer reviews. 1 million reviews by 500,000 reviewers. And they are loving their brand. Even with a bad review, they are having more enjoyment, more passion, more love for Amazon in the midst of that bad review, because they're the home where you can express that bad review. So then we looked at Amazon among all the greats in various ways, and we said, what about impressed? I mean, who could be more impressed than Nike? Amazon has a higher impression. Even at the level of amazement, people have been connected to the brand of Amazon. What about pride? Amazon beats Coca-Cola on pride. Amazon beats Starbucks on trust. Amazon beats Google on loyalty. That means I am more loyal to Amazon than I am searching at Google. That's how loyal we are. We went into a focus group and we said, just tell us what's going on. And we didn't tell them the names of the brands. We said, you tell us. Name a brand you most admire. That was the question.
I chose Amazon.
And why was that?
Excellent service, follow through, delivery, top notch every time, never had a bad experience.
So when you say service, what do you mean?
From ability to order, to get it immediately, using Prime Video. I mean, it's always been a good experience.
Every time I call with any sort of problem, they're either quick to fix it or look into it, or go above and beyond, even in some cases.
Quick to fix it, go above and beyond. Has anyone ever dealt with a human at Amazon? Are you kidding me? Has service been redefined? We believe it has. This was a study we did in the financial community among mortgage banking. It turns out that there was a community who was starting to grow saying, yeah, I would change banks for a mobile app. For a better mobile experience, I would change banks. But still, it wasn't that big. Personal service was driving most of that general market. But we looked at the millennials. They said, hey, I would switch banks for a mobile app for sure. And convenience, yeah, as long as it's technologically convenient, I'd want a mobile app. I don't want to have to talk to a human. I mean, if you have teenagers, if you understand where kids are at today, they do not want to pick up a phone and have a conversation. They want to text. And that is where the millennials are going. But there's a shift taking place. The millennials are growing faster than their age, and a massive shift just took place. We call this the coronavirus time warp. Over the last couple of months, the digital behaviors of our communities have leapt forward 5 years in just the first 8 weeks. So people are now using millennial behaviors, going to Amazon first, building that touchless experience with a brand they want to have automated relationships with. The change is taking place. We are working with healthcare systems. I grew up watching this TV series, The Jetsons. I never imagined this would happen in my lifetime, but I see this thing happening in my own home. We're having telehealth appointments with doctors. It went up thousands%. We call this shift post-traumatic growth. There's an emotional pain that can cause great change, great behavior opportunity. We're all worried right now. Fear is abundant. But if you're smart, you look at the opportunity. You look at the change going on and saying, how can we win in the midst of this? And there's so many ways to win. Look at the first curve and the second curve. So in the first curve, marketing was building that education, that empathy, the Apple commercial that said, we're all in this together. And it built that brand. And then they started coming out with compassionate and safe, touchless experiences. We launched a few clients like SVS Vision started doing their telehealth appointments for optometry. And so we created a touchless experience to get your first optometry meeting. And so we've seen more and more of that compassionate, touchless move. But as the second curve happens, even before the health curve, is the mental health curve and the financial crisis. There's an opportunity here. Therapy. It's a moment where I'm having a lot of struggle in my home. I'm alone. But I get this ritual every morning, every afternoon, every couple of days. I get to buy another package. And now I've got this new congregation. These are the members of my congregation. These people walk into my door. They're new family community members. And there's been a massive growth. Amazon doubled their profit during this time. So we look at ritual and we say maybe, just maybe on the loyalty side, maybe that's where Amazon shows up. And sure enough, okay, here we go. Amazon is ranked number 2 to Apple in loyalty. Okay, so it's starting to show up there. And this was a study we did before the coronavirus time warp. We looked on pride. We said, what about the co-creation, the Jeep concept, that I get to add value to that experience, the pride of ownership? Amazon's the winner. Amazon has the most engagement from sharing, having the ability to co-create that brand. And this is one of the verbatims. Amazon has enabled me to earn a little money from home, first by selling my old books through them, and now as an affiliate blogger. What about enhancement? The idea of being amazed, being impressed. Amazon, again, empowered. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling they're going to bring the capability I need, because how they want me to be the best and always looking to improve and not rest on the laurels, but looking for the next big thing, the next big thing. So Amazon is also important to think about. These are axes. So if you look at the axes on this chart, we can move not only toward the positive, but away from the negative. Amazon is a freedom from the negative feelings, freedom from stress, freedom from doubt toward confidence. And so Amazon offers these things. So when we bring all these things together, we get a customer obsession mindset, which is what they have at Amazon. Very much obsessed with everything about the customer. Where do you think they rank here on fusing? On the idea that my identity is tied to Amazon's identity. Number 1, they make my life better. I can find darn nearly everything I want to buy. And not only that, they save me money and they have great selections. This is what our customer was saying. I am now fused by identity. My identity is tied up into Amazon. And what was the mission that Amazon set out to live out? To be the Earth's most customer-centric company, where the customers can find and discover anything they might want to buy online and endeavors to offer its customers the lowest possible prices. That's amazing. And they've gone out to amaze. And guess who else does? The rock companies have values to amaze. And here's your secret about irrational advocacy. It's been in your Bible all along. If you amaze every client, every chance you get, then you have created a raving fan. That's how you create your irrational advocate. And I found this little article. I found this note from one of your customers at StockX, and it just reminded me of what a rational advocate is. And I just love this statement this customer says. It was the little things, the personalization that turned a regular transaction into something more. From the invoice to the StockX verified authentic hang tag. Amazing touch, by the way. To the special note from yourself, it all blew me away. I feel like I'm a part of something amazing. There it is. I've been a follower of StockX from its early campus beginnings. You have achieved brand loyalty from me. With that said, I would love to support and be part of the StockX company in any way, shape, or form I can. I look forward to your company's growth, and I want to be a part of it, is what he's saying. Congratulations. StockX now has unicorn status, $1 billion valuation. You are gaining irrational advocates, and that is the source of your growth. That is what is going on. So you got 3 phases: primal attraction, membership contribution, and irrational advocacy. And that's what I have for today. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions or comments. And I have a few other ideas I could go into if you have time for it. So we'll turn it back to the leader from here.
Thank you, Dan. That was a really great presentation. There's a lot to take in there. I'm sure we've all learned a lot as well. So I really appreciate you going through all of that. I've got a few questions that I've jotted down, and plus I see we've got a few here in the Q&A chat box. So, you mentioned primal attraction, membership contribution, irrational advocacy. How can people that maybe don't have a physical item achieve those things? Like, I feel like it's really easy to be like, look at this new shoe and, check out this lipstick or whatever, but something that's maybe not as attractive, like, I don't know, life insurance or mortgages, whatever it might be. How do you get people to have that feeling of irrational advocacy? Like, yes, I want to support these people and this is why. Like, how do you get to that deeper level without something to look at or touch?
Well, first of all, I'd like to mention that Amazon has no physical item. It is a service. It offers many of other people's physical items which have their brand advocacies, but they are not they're not a product, and they are ranked #1 by some measures. I would also mention that there is an emotional connection to so many services. For example, healthcare has no physical item, but that doctor that saved my life is a story, and that can carry on for many, many years, and it creates donors, and it creates all kinds of good things. A mortgage has a home, and I can't imagine a more emotionally connected thing than Home Sweet Home. So there's so many ways to connect emotionally above and beyond a service to the thing that service provides, the value to society that it brings. What is the moral value? It is not about the product. It was never about the shoe. It was never about the computer. It was always about think different. It was always about do your best and be victorious. These were the values of Apple and Nike and some of the others that went ahead of us.
You mentioned that when people are making a decision, 75% is emotional, 25% is analytical. But underneath that, you explained that the features and the benefits are part of the analytical part. But don't you think that a lot of brands tend to focus on that? It does this and we're fast and you do this and you do that. And then there's not as much emphasis on the how it makes you feel. And do you think that, there's a lot of room to grow for brands out there to start realizing that?
Most brands have no moral value content in their advertising at all. As a matter of fact, some of it's immoral. It is suggesting they do things, sell things they don't actually sell. If we simply bring the moral cause of the brand in the forefront, the consumers will trust you to create a great product because they'll believe that you stand for that value. We spend way too much time talking about what we've done in the past. The consumer's emotions are projecting what you'll do in the future. They're trying to say, will you service me after I purchase this car? Will you take care of me after the shoe has been shipped to my front door? I want to know your moral fiber. I don't necessarily want to know about your product you've done in the past. I already know about that.
So what I thought was kind of interesting when you were showing the Harley Davidson segment. So to me, Harley Davidson's that holy grail of motorcycles. If I was going to get a motorcycle, that would be the Cadillac to me of what I would want to get. But like you said, the changing demographics of who's interested in Harleys is changing. And so what would you have liked to have seen from Harley and when, so that there was more of a seamless brand experience that's cross-generational?
Yeah, I had a conversation with our Harley CMO last week, chances are, and his response was, we should have been on our electric vehicle a long time ago. They had it, but they didn't feel it fit with their brand. They had a hard time jamming it into their irrational advocacy. And really, they didn't capture what was the essence of the Harley value. It was freedom. It was always the bold counterculture move to get out and have that open air. It was the frequency of being in the wind and feeling that vibration and feeling like you're away from everything else. That was what a Harley was all about. For some reason, it took them a while to figure out it wasn't about leather jackets and gangs. And they had to move on, and it came a little bit late. And I think people now associate the brand with Vietnam vets. And like they said about Cadillac at one time, soon the average age of a Harley driver will be dead.
I mean, it sounds like a good time for Harley to maybe put that messaging that you just said out there, you know, like, you've been cooped up in your homes, go out, be free, like experience the road. It just sounds like a good opportunity there.
Yeah, I think they're working on it. I know they've got lots of plans, so
Yeah.
I don't want to put down where they're at. They do have a really good strategy in place, but you got to get it out there and be a part of the marketing world.
For sure. So let's see what other questions we've got. So as marketers, should we strive to create irrational brand loyalty?
Absolutely. And I think I'm going to show you a couple slides on this. I think brand loyalty is a science, just like success is a science. And it really comes from your leadership. Instead of creating loyalty, follow what the leadership values are, the moral values are, and unite around those. And when you look at what you're being encouraged to do, I just love these statements. To be great at something, you have to embed yourself in the mission. You have to be nearly possessed by the calling. You have to know in your heart of hearts that you will achieve the picture in your mind, and you can see it so clearly. You have to be able to sacrifice, and that's even sacrificing your time. And I see that sense of overachievingness that's a part of your brand. And this is another statement I read in your Bible. I believe that every single one of us has the potential to be great at something or even several things. So why don't more people achieve greatness? Because they either don't believe that they can ever achieve it, or they're simply not willing to pay the high price tag that comes along with it. It's not about necessarily making the brand great. It's about you being great at what you are, doing what you're doing as to something bigger than yourself, and letting the brand benefit from it, but you're benefiting as well. It's a mutual benefit. When we realize those things are built together, we should be believing in the business we work for, because we work for that company and we want the success it can bring us. We're united in our end, so we should be united in our beginnings as well.
Sounds good. Let's see what else we got. Are values important for external communications?
Absolutely. If you don't use the values, you're not building that irrational advocate, very simply. When we only focus on our values internally, we put them on a website, or we have posters or rah-rah sessions. That's great. That builds the internal brand. But when your outside message is different from your inside message, your internal people are saying, do you really believe that stuff? Or are you just doing that to get me to work harder? When they see you do it out there with a selfless kind of focus on your cause, even internal audiences start saying, hey, Apple's out there saying, think different. We're going to start thinking different, and we're going to make a better product. And then it does motivate your internal people, as it does the external, to get involved in something that you can mutually build together. And that's a cause, not a product.
What about B2B? Like, how do you establish, that emotional connection when you're just trying to talk to your peers?
Yeah, even in business.
They already know what's up your sleeve.
Right. Business to business is all about that. Think about some of the best business relationships. If you go out with a billionaire or some highly successful person and start talking at them about your abilities and look at my resume and look at my degree, that guy's going to slow down. And he's going to say, whoa, let's go fishing for a minute. Let's hang out. Let's do some lunch. You're like, don't you want to hear about all I have to say? And they're often going to say, no, I want to know what you stand for. I want to know what your values are. Before I start doing this business transaction with you, I want to know what your values, your vision, and your mission are. Not just your statements. Don't read those things back to me. I want to hear it from your heart.
How does a brand sound authentic to the current culture zeitgeist without coming off as too cheesy, aka the band sellout metaphor?
Don't end your commercial with bragging. I mean, remember in high school, the kid who showed off, the kid who bragged was not the kid who loved. It's the kid who knows who he is and doesn't have to say it. We do all these commercials. The reason the Apple commercial became cliched is everybody got emotionally connected by it. And then you got every single in the home, the kid with the mom and the dad and the piano music. And then we would talk about the brand. And at the very end, they would destroy the concept by saying, and we're on sale this week. And here's our product. And by the way, make sure to buy it this week. And it destroys everything about the emotional connection you just made because it said you're using that emotional connection for your own vanity, not for my own best interest.
As a brand that isn't a cult favorite, are there ways to leverage the following that's there and that emotional connection for your own brand?
Well, when we say cult favorite, we have a lot of, I think, stereotypes we associate with that. The reality is cult favorites can be Meijer, Walmart. They're actually ranked in the top 20. They don't seem like cult following organizations, but in emotion, loyalty is an emotion like any other emotion. And if you have a strong sense of loyalty to your local grocery store, you're not going to go anywhere else. That's an emotional connection that creates a cult following, even if you don't express it in irrational ways. So it doesn't have to necessarily be the cliche cult following.
Some of the most loved brands that we know of and that you've mentioned in this presentation have faced several PR challenges over the years. Crises that maybe affected their like brand loyalty for a time and then maybe they've bounced back. So how do you look at that? And then can every PR crisis be overcome?
Yeah, I remember working with Chic-fil-a on a crisis like that, and it was 2011. And I've seen it with several other brands where they get into a crisis of their moral cause. Their moral cause closed on Sunday became a moral cause for those who did not believe in those same values. And so there became a conflict, and we had to start finding out where do we reside? Where do we fit in this world? And I remember Dan Cathy, the CEO, he ended up going to a gay pride parade and handing out chicken. Just started engaging new communities, going to places he'd never been before. We started saying, where is that connectivity? Let's go at the local level. Let's not focus on the CEO and what he's saying. You know, we've been working with Papa John's, and they went through their own crisis. And so when a CEO does something, what do you do? How do you respond? Let's work with the local high schools. Let's work with the local franchisees who are part of those communities that we trust and love. And we build those around those moments. And people are very forgiving, especially if you're willing to say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. That's not how I meant it. And we have an opportunity as brands to make things right. The consumer is very, very savvy and very capable of forgiveness.
Do you think we'll see a shift in loyalty though? Like, for example, to Amazon's brand, as you hear more and more about poor working conditions and their warehouses and employees speaking out, like, is that a PR thing that's just like ongoing? It's
going to hit them. It creates a gap, and it creates an opportunity for someone to come in there and start chinking at their armor. So we definitely need to manage those moments. Those are more important than your pricing and all these other things. So as soon as we start saying we're saving some money over here, but we're doing damage, we got to watch the brand. Those are all important actions. You can't make TV commercials to fix that problem.
Can you give us a couple examples of younger, maybe smaller companies that have done a successful job at building irrational brand loyalty?
Good question. Yeah, you got me off guard on that one. There are companies that people follow in local communities, whether it's your local grocery store. There's a place I go to. I'll give you an example. It's a little market, the Clintonville Market in Waterford. And they remember my name. I come in there, they ask me how the kids are doing. And so I send my friends there. We are always sure to show up and spend more money than we would have at Kroger because they remember our name. Simple things like that. Those are emotionally connected moments that says we value who you are, not just the product and the money that we can get out of you, but that we can build a relationship. And that makes a difference.
How much is too much when it comes to personalized communication? Technology makes it easier than ever to generate but the appetite for consuming it is mixed.
Yeah, the reality about that is there is a premium to pay when you're talking to personalized audiences. And if you're a dozen different brands to a dozen different communities, then you're not really centralized. The thing about values and branding is it gives you one common message that humanity can circulate around. And so, yes, you want to get targeted for specific needs when it comes to the call to action, bottom funnel activity. But when you're building that activity at the top that is not addressing specific individuals, that's where you get the cost advantage of doing mass media. And you can do branding at that level. That's where it belongs.
How can you overcome naysayers as you're trying to build advocacy?
Well, it helps to give case study data, science. I love science. I'll show you a couple things. We'll go back a few slides. You know, we talk about things like resonance. People love hearing that when I work in the medical community, especially in psychiatry communities. They say, okay, I can get that. Even though many of the technical people are not emotional at all, if we can show technical accuracy, we can show a scientific concept, we can help them get excited. So for example, resonance. What is resonance? Well, we'll give a scientific example. What's the difference between a hunk of iron and a magnet? It's really just alignment. It's the idea that if you can get many people within an organization aligned around a similar concept, they have more focus, more power, more energy. And when that starts spinning, that actually can light up a city. It can power an entire community. And we look at guys like, let's go to Tesla. I'm a big Tesla fan. He had this belief system that there was a human mass that created human energy, that when we're aligned and we work together, there's actually an increase, an exponential increase in what goes on. And you can translate that concept to brand energy. When you have two different energies going within an organization, you end up fighting against yourself. The worst hire you can do is to hire a really talented person who works against you. So we have to find a way to get people who are aligned in culture and values so that we can build one common belief system and an approach to things. We have to define a shared struggle, or people will truly struggle against each other. And so we look at it as a scientific model, and we bring these types of data points, research studies, and we build these arguments so our clients can help them understand. Sometimes you have to get out of your scientific mind and understand there are people who are making decisions on emotional science that's equally strong and not just based on the obvious that we understand from our external sciences.
So what comes first then, in your opinion, internal or external brand loyalty? Like, do you have to start in the inside and work out, or, you know, how does that work best?
I agree that internal branding is first, but you might take note that Steve Jobs, when he came back to Apple and they were failing, it was 1997, and he had 8 weeks to turn the brand around. He did not go internally first. He went with a TV commercial, and it was the Think Different commercial, read by Richard Dreyfuss, who said, those who are crazy enough to change the world, to think they can change the world, are the ones who do. And he made that commercial in 8 weeks, showed it to his internal people, and ran it weeks after that. So he didn't take it stage by stage. He made a commercial and said, hey, everybody, get on board. We don't have time to build internally, then go externally. This is the brand. We're going to cover this in everything we do. We're going to stop the nonsense promotions. They're not working.
We got 2 more questions and then we can wrap up. So how does this apply to a personal brand? It's
identical. When we have values that are individual, I myself have family values. My wife and I and my kids, we actually went on our retreat and we wrote our mission, vision, values statements. And so when we have our personal values, they're ordered. We say, this is more important than this. And when you get to a tough decision, the answer is pretty obvious because you know what your values are. And so these are important things to have personally. So when people watch you and they say, is he consistent? Does she follow her own value patterns? When you've set those out in your mind and you've meditated on them, you've said, this is who I am, then you tend to follow through on those things and people will build trust because they know what to expect from you.
And then where can people read a little bit more about irrational advocacy? Do you have any other
there it is.
Suggests or anything that people should be reading online?
Yes, we have a book that I know that your organization is letting people know they can get through ROC, and it's called Surfing the Black Wave. brand leadership in a digital age. It talks about values. It talks about the Maslow hierarchy. It talks about the left and right brain and all these things. We also posted a new study called Irrational Advocacy, the three stages of a passion brand, the things I spoke on today. It's at our website. So if you go to danielbryan.com and you go to our way page, our way, which is one of the clicks at the top, it'll bring you to our Irrational Advocacy download, and you can download that for yourself.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dan. We've just had so much to take in here. So again, if anyone else has additional questions, we're going to have contact information that we'll share with you. But for now,